Resolution on ASPCC's response to issues relating to transfer. It is recommended the Executive Board adopt the resolution as a response to issues relating to transfer. This may include motions and resolutions that censure or take no confidence in PCC administration. Before I see John, I just want to let everyone know that these two resolutions would normally have been included with the packet. However, because of the sort of last-minute nature of all of this, we were unable to do so. So after some general comments, I'm going to be taking a 10-minute recess so that the board can look over those and make suggestions, and then we can actually move to action. John?
Okay, yes. I'd just like to introduce the resolutions you guys are going to be seeing today. There are 3 different ones that should be around here, unless there's one that escaped my notice.
Do we have extra copies anywhere?
They should have been handed out already.
Okay, so
we'll make sure you get the copies.
The one with 2 pages that looks like this is the one I wrote. This is simple no confidence. The one which is 3 pages and ridiculously long is no confidence and censure combined into a resolution. And the one that Simon wrote is just censure. So just to, I guess, begin to clarify the differences, for those that read the packet, we should have an understanding of the difference between censure and no confidence. The motion to censure is essentially a formal warning, whereas the motion of no confidence is the entire lack of confidence in the administration's ability to perform the functions necessary to maintain the college. And given that the executive committee has been given time to provide a stance today, I'm actually going to recommend that we take no confidence in censure in the administration.
Okay. And I'll elucidate on that. A memo did go out, which we will be releasing to the public, and I believe the Courier already has a copy, that listed all of the issues that the Executive Board wanted addressed by the Executive Committee. I was informed by Dr. Bell that the Executive Committee declined to respond, that they received it, they are aware of it, except that they declined to respond actively. And Dr. Bell was going to be here to further comment, however he is not. I'll ask Dean Thayer if there is any comment from administration at all.
Nothing that I've received, no.
Okay. So the memo was pretty, I think, expansive. It asked them to address why the calendar was changed the way it was, why the change happened outside of negotiations, and specifically asked for clarification on Dr. Roach's public comments, which were made because one of the issues that administration said they would not respond on is because it referred to negotiations. In actuality, it was referring to what Dr. Rocha himself said in open meeting, which I believe is completely fair game to ask about. It also asked for how the administration will stop this from happening, why there was no process, why there was no shared governance involved in the adoption of a student calendar, which clearly, being called student calendar, falls under the shared governance responsibilities. Is there any more general comment before I take a 10-minute recess? Hearing none, we will take a 10-minute recess. We will come back to order at 12:40. Please use this time to, not amongst yourselves, but amongst yourself, to read the resolution and then come back with comments. So, resolution copies are now being given out. Sophia, if you could please prioritize getting them over to Dean Thayer as well. So, now that we've had a chance to review, I'd like to hear some comments. Andrew?
I'm sorry, are there 2 copies that we should have, or 3 copies? Because I've only received 2.
There should be 3. Essentially, the third is a single resolution that combines them both together. So the text won't be very much different, but we're getting that out to you right now.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any comments from the board on the resolution? Context, comments? Anna, then Tommy.
So I noticed that there's supposed to be 3 on the table. One is no confidence in the administration.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. The other is a censure in the administration. Mm-hmm. And the other is...
Yes, so we could decide to combine the 2 and just take one resolution, or we could pass them both, or we could pass one or the other. So the point is to sort of allow for options. My preference from a process point of view is to pass 2 separately, mainly because I think that they deal with separate issues. I think that censure is a action on past, no confidence is going forward. I think they are separate, but that's up to the body to decide. Are there any other comments? Oh, Tommy, yes.
Can I get a copy of the 2-page? I only have 1.
You only, okay, copies should be going out. They're on the way, apparently.
Okay.
Michael, I guess, is handling that.
As long as they're on the way. Okay. Fine.
Okay, are there any comments on the content of the resolutions? Anna?
Okay, based on the past events, I think it's only fair to censure the administration, because that is the appropriate motion, I believe. However, I don't think I'd be in favor of moving forward with a no confidence in the administration.
Okay.
Because I think the administration is there are very hardworking people in there, but I think they have a lot to do, and it's not like we don't ever want to work with them again, in my point of view. So I would prefer to rather have a censure in the administration and no confidence in the president.
Okay, Andrew, and then Tommy. Oh, and no, Andrew, then Jordan, and Tom.
I have a few comments on some of these things, but I think we can get to it later. But just to respond to what Anna said, you know, I will admit that, you know, over the last few days, you know, I was when considering these issues, I was leaning towards censure as well. But the fact that there are no representatives here to talk through these issues says a lot to me, and says there's really a lack of just caring about how the students have dealt with these issues, a lack of admitting any wrongdoing, and it's scary to me that the administration wouldn't respond at all. So to me, it feels like the symbolic vote of no confidence would be valid and would be a good way to go.
Jordan?
I have to agree with Vice President Bott. I see no point in doing a finger wag and saying bad baby to the administration. Something needs to change, and it needs to change now. And it's come to my attention that in light of the past few days of what has happened on this campus, I see that doing a vote of no confidence would be the best way for us to have a better community college that serves students and ultimately get students out here within the transfer deadline, that gets students out here with proper knowledge of education, and it also allows us the freedom of free speech on campus, which is given to us by right. So I do have to agree that no confidence would be the best motion to carry. So.
Okay, let me just say from a process point of view, they are mutually exclusive. We can do both, we can do one or the other. I just want to make sure that all the options are on the table, and the text that you have in front of you isn't final. It can be changed, it can be amended. We don't have to adopt this as it stands. It can be altered depending on what you need to do. So we'll go to Tommy, then John, and then we'll go to a public comment.
Looking at both of the resolutions, I see no reason why we shouldn't pass both. And if I'm correct, that the 3-page one that I don't have yet is just pretty much these two stuck together. Is that
Essentially,
correct?
yes.
Okay.
I don't want to say that like completely, because there may be a comma out of place and suddenly I'll get caught on it.
But the essence of the 3 pages, we've stuck these two together.
Correct.
We've been discussing our issues with the administration for a very long time. It seems insane that we shouldn't go forward, and it's like we shouldn't censor. Censorship should be a no-brainer, that there shouldn't really be much discussion there. That's formally recognizing that we have issues with what they've done in the past. But no confidence should also be fairly easy to go about, because we know they're just going to keep ignoring us. They're going to keep doing what they want. They're going to keep lying to the student body. Most of the student body that I've talked to that wants to transfer in fall had no idea that summer 1 wouldn't count, because they read the article in the Courier which said that summer 1 was going to count. And now I'm encouraging everybody to look at going to private institutions, because they'll be able to get out of here sooner and away from this administration.
And you know, I will just clarify one thing. Summer 1's gone. It's now late spring with a separate start date and registration time, which we don't actually know when that registration time will be. So we don't have summer 1 anymore, because they tried to ameliorate the situation and have done so too late. John?
Yeah, I was just about to say that's exactly what they should have done from the beginning when you're asking them to do that. But now that they're doing it after people have sent out their applications with their intent to finish over summer, students are already getting rejected. With that, I think we need to start moving forward. So I'm going to move that we adopt the resolution to censure Pasadena City College administration drafted by Simon.
Second.
Moved and seconded to adopt the resolution to censure Pasadena City College administration. Is there discussion on that motion? Anna.
If we do want to have this approved, but we want to change the context of it, do we have to change the context before we pass the motion?
So let's talk about, so right now we would want to talk about corrections and amendments to it, and then I'll just take that as a blanket amendment motion, rather than have us like amend for every comma, because I see a lot of like grammar things on people's pages, and I think that we need to just sort of try and deal with this expediently. So comments on the resolution to censure. Andrew first.
I'm not sure whether it would take place best in the censure or in the no confidence, but while a few times it's mentioned that the process of shared governance isn't being followed, I would like there to be something, for example, today nobody's showing up, and no comments from the administration at all. Something in there about that, about how we've reached out again and again for their opinions, for their feedback, and been ignored. Because I think it's important that we make it clear formally that we've really tried to reach out to them. We've really tried to reach out and have been spurned.
Okay. Is there anyone on the side that has a hand up? I'm forgetting to look this way. I'm sorry. John, then Tommy.
I just also wanted to add that there have been 3 comments on James Dean and no responses from administration on a vote of no confidence. So this just clearly demonstrates where the priorities of the administration are right now, and they are censoring the ability of professors to have public speakers above proving to the students that they earn our confidence, that they need us as a part of this process. And quite frankly, that's just so disrespectful. I can't even begin to verbalize it.
Okay, Tommy.
Adding on to what Vice President Bott said, where is Dr. Roach? I mean, we are directly discussing what's going on with his administration. Why isn't he here to defend it? He should be the first one here to say, this is why we did this. He should be the one defending it, and where is he?
Are you actually asking, or is that rhetorical?
Rhetorical.
Okay, Anna?
I've noticed that throughout the document we have times where we say shared governance and times where we say participatory governance, but we should pick one and just match it all throughout.
Okay, in that case my recommendation would be participatory, since that's the word the admin likes to use, and even that has gone missing. Is there objection to participatory versus shared? Hannah, is that a hand? No. Tommy?
I like shared governance just because it makes us sound slightly more important than participatory, where it's like the administration can just brush us under the rug and it doesn't matter what we say. And I believe the legal context is shared governance from the state of California.
I think it's actually participatory in the state, but generally on campus we call it shared.
Okay, then I would like to conform to whatever the state says, whatever the state law says.
I believe that's participatory, and the college calls it shared. So then in that case, participatory. Okay, then we'll go with participatory throughout. Any other comments on it? Juan Diego?
Yeah, these aren't numbered, so bear with me, but where it says, therefore, be it resolved that the associated students, the claims that the calendar change would have no impact, the process by which the calendar change was undertaken, and the seeming inability of the college administration to help those affected by the change in time to prevent transfer rejections. I just think that that portion right there can be reworked in some fashion that makes it more clear.
Okay.
I don't really get what seeming inability means. I think it can be more clearly stated what the intent we're trying to get by there is.
That might be a Britishism, I apologize.
Just get rid of seeming.
Which paragraph is that again?
Therefore.
Oh, in the resolved, I see. Yeah, yes?
I also don't think it's an inability. The college administration has made it very clear that they have very powerful abilities. For example, banning James Dean from public speech today So I think we should make it clear they do have the ability, they just made the choice not to use it.
Okay, Anna, and then I'd like to offer us another whereas to address Andrew's original point. So, Anna?
I was just going to ask you, would it help if we had a minority caucus and then came back to make a motion on all the grammar at once?
For that, I think we can just deal with the grammar at the end
Okay.
for right now. Because I would like to add a whereas, and I'd like to do that first.
Okay.
Whereas, and this is really rough, so bear with me. Whereas ASPCC's consistent request for formal administrative comment on this issue have gone. ASPCC's consistent requests for formal administrative comment on this issue have gone unanswered. And then I have an optional add to that. While administration has found time to comment and act on class-related events or speaker events. Tommy?
I like option 2. If there's some way to combine them, that would be great.
Well, that is what you mean of what I said. That was
Yeah.
one result. That was one whereas. Whereas ASPC's consistent requests for formal administrative comment on this issue have gone unanswered, while administration has found the time to comment and act on class-related speaker events.
That sounds good.
Maybe repeatedly unanswered?
Have gone repeatedly unanswered. Okay, John?
Okay, as far as that goes, I'd also like to just clarify that it's the executive committee in that whereas, specifically because we did formally request the executive committee to bring a statement, because when deans are sent to us to speak on behalf of the executive committee, they're unable to speak. So when we request the executive committee to have a statement on something, we're requesting that the executive committee have something.
Well, to be fair, we've only requested the executive committee specifically once, so I'd like to say, whereas consistent request for formal executive committee and administrative comment.
Okay.
Okay? So if there's no objections to that, I'll take that as part of an amendment, but we'll deal with other corrections that we want to deal with. So, Anna?
Throughout this resolution, there's the word condemns. ASPCC condemns. I'd like to try and change that to reprehend, so we're not like someone. It still has the same point to the word, but I like that one better.
Any comment on that?
No, I
Hannah.
personally feel we should be using condemn because that's exactly what we're doing in this resolution.
Okay. Any other comment on condemn versus reprehend? Is that the word?
Yes.
Okay, Tom?
I agree with Hannah. We are condemning we are condemning the administration, flat out. There's no reason why we should change it.
Any other comments on that specific issue? Hearing none, I think we'll stand with condemns. Okay. Then we'll move forward. Any other corrections or changes or comments, additions, subtractions, divisions?
Just on the class speaker event, the last bit of it, I wish we could just come outright and say, whereas the executive committee is more concerned about porn star speaking at Pasadena City College than the state of students' transfer success. I mean,
Yeah.
just being honest, it makes a lot more sense and it's a lot more clear.
Okay, then in that case, if there's no any objection to that,
Could you read it out?
I would read an amendment to that, which would be, while administration has found time to comment and act on adult film actors speaking at class-related events. Andrew?
I don't like including it.
Okay.
I think that, I agree with the thought behind it, but I don't think it should be included in the formal resolution. But I also, I'll wait a moment to come with another paragraph.
Okay, anything else on that specifically? That's in favor of including adult? Hannah?
I think we should include it. I mean, James Dean has come out and said he's felt singled out and persecuted by our administration for cutting him from public access. He's an alumni of this college, or an alumni of this college, so I personally think we should definitely keep it in the resolution.
Okay, Hannah?
To be fair, this isn't the only thing that they put as a priority over responding to us. I mean, they've done a lot to technology, they've done a lot in their other departments. They need to have this as their top priority for student transfer.
Okay, John, then do you go?
Okay, as far as this goes, I guess my reason why I support including this in the resolution is because it just shows how silly of a priority that is, as opposed to the transfer of our students. And quite frankly, at this point, if they are more concerned with James Dean causing hundreds of protesters to come to our campus, that should be conveyed to the Board of Trustees, that this is what their administration is spending their time and money on.
Okay, Diego?
I don't agree with adding it just because it's incredibly specific. Like Anna said, that they were working on other things, not just this. I think a more general, you should be focusing on students, not those other aspects. We're calling you essentially to come and work on this. Also, that said, I think if the James Dean is an issue for us that we want to take up, that's a resolution we can have independent of having it here with this.
Okay.
section.
So what I'd like then is, because I've already sort of assumed that the original that I added was without objection, since there seems to be a request to amend it. I'd like someone to offer me a motion to add the words about has found time to act on adult film actors speaking at class-related events. Does anyone want to offer that motion? Then we can vote it up or down.
So moved.
Moved and seconded to amend the additional resolve to specify while admin has found time to comment and act on adult film actors speaking at class-related events. Is there further discussion that is needed? Andrew?
If we are going to include it, I would really prefer if we're maybe even a little bit more specific. If we're going to include it, I think we should. For example, some of the comments you made at the top of the meeting about how there's it's a censure of academic freedom on campus. Is a good example, or what John just said, a little bit more specific. If we're going to include it, I think it would be good. Because right now it even comes off a little bit sarcastic, and I don't think we want to be sarcastic towards somebody who we want to come on campus and respect.
Okay, Hannah?
Okay, so I think the reason why we should keep this in is exactly what John said. It's silly. It's silly that instead of focusing on student transfers, we're focusing on, no joke, yesterday on my final day of bed rest from bronchitis, I received a phone call from Vice President Miller, concerned that someone would get so offended that a porn star would come onto this campus that they would bring a gun. So they're so concerned about a shooter being on campus over James Dean than this issue that we're faced with right now, which is the fact that our transfer numbers are going to be so low because so many students are getting rejected from their Cal States and their UCs because they didn't fill their applications, because administration didn't get their act together. So I don't think we need to be more specific, Vice President Vaughn, and I'll tell you why. It's because if you Google search Pasadena City College James Dean, it's all over the internet. LA Times, Inside Shit, CBS Local, a lot of foreign websites are now discussing Pasadena City College, Huffington Post, not to mention our own Pasadena Sun, Pasadena Star News, San Gabriel Valley Tribune, My Fox LA, and the PCC Courier. So, we don't need to be more specific. If someone wants to know what we're talking about, they can just look to Google, because I've been looking at it every hour, and it's frightening what they've done.
To be fair, I don't think the campus does have a decent active shooter policy. So, is there any more that's sort of against this inclusion right now? Yes.
Is there any way we can leave the wordsmithing until after the meeting, considering I don't necessarily believe this is substantive business of the body. If we approve the intention to add this, I think we can do this after.
I think that this specifically, because there is so much discussion over whether or not we should include the specific topic, I would like to take a vote on it.
Right, so could we take a vote on including a mention of James Dean and this incident
and then leave the wordsmithing until
until after?
Is there any objection to that? Is that an objection to it?
Kind of. If we're going to add the James Dean part of that whereas, we should probably include a little bit more about what they've been prioritizing over this.
Okay, so then I'm just going to say that we'll take a vote now on whether or not we should include it, period. And something, and then I will wordsmith something based on what I've heard today that hopefully the board will be amenable to. Okay, so we'll take a vote on that amendment. The amendment is to add to the additional whereas a reference to the event surrounding James Dean on campus. I know I've changed the motion a little bit. Is there objection to my changes? That's the question then. Okay, advisories please?
Aye.
No. As many as that opinion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, no.
No.
The ayes have it. We will add that, and I will bring some text back towards the end of the meeting so that we can discuss it again. So let's go back to the rest of the resolution. Is there further comment on it? Anna?
I have one.
Yeah.
The one before, the one you added, the last whereas, it says, it warned the PACCD governing board of are proving themselves true. That, I don't understand.
Understands that the negative effect it warned the PCC governing board of are proving themselves true.
So proving themselves true means that they're actually happening?
Yes, that we were prophetic. I was going to use the word prophetic, but I thought it would be a little bit too. Yeah. So okay, Andrew.
I think this resolution is very clear on all the other counts about the calendar and how kind of the process has been followed. Except this one, whereas ASPCC has now decided.
Yeah.
Isn't it more that ASPCC has been forced to carry the burden since the college administration has not reached out to these college campuses?
Is there any objection to changing that from decided to being forced?
Yep.
Okay, it's been objected to. So is there further discussion on it then? Hannah?
If we're going to change it, maybe we should change it to taking the initiative to contact these colleges.
Okay. Has taken the initiative to?
Initiative.
Okay, has taken the initiative of Jordan?
Second.
John?
I'd actually like to amend this motion to refer this to a committee for action.
John, is there a second to that?
Second.
Moved and seconded to refer this to a committee. The whole resolution?
For action.
For action?
No, this exact item.
This exact part
So
of the
if
resolution.
this resolution passes, then this part of the resolution can be modified later. So if we have any wordsmithing, this committee will be able to change the wordsmithing.
And will automatically reflect?
Yes.
So the power of this committee that you want to form will be to just amend it, and we will accept those amendments as is.
Yes, we can call it the wordsmithing committee.
Okay, fine. Is there an objection to that?
Objection.
There's an objection. So let's discuss it then. Well, it wasn't a move, then it was seconded, so we're on a motion to refer to committee. Anna?
So I think any resolution that we make should be done by us. We don't need to refer a committee to say different points. We know what we want to say, and we can decide it now when we make a resolution.
Is there anyone that wants to speak against that? Hannah?
Yeah, because wordsmithing takes a lot of time, and we have a really long agenda, and so I think we should refer this to a committee and bring it back for us all to ratify as one united group.
Tommy?
Tagging off what Hannah said, I agree maybe we could form an amendment to the motion that once the wordsmithing committee creates all of their adjustments, they bring the resolution back and then we approve it.
Okay, I'm seeing public comment, Sarah.
When would this happen? I mean, we've been working on this for a really long time. We need to get something done today.
I agree.
Okay, so John?
I'll speak to the motion. As far as this goes, if we were to refer it to committee right now, I would recommend that the president would ask some people who are going to be here after this meeting to work on it and immediately make the wordsmithing decisions that we have. So the reason I say refer to it for action is because we have text with a very minor problem in it. The executive board can approve this resolution with the main points, and then that committee can make the minor little adjustments like has now decided to be enforced. I do appreciate that change, and it does change the scope of the resolution. However, it does so in a way that the executive board does not necessarily need to be concerned with the minor details of this.
Okay.
And if this resolution is passed, which I haven't heard motions against that, just wordsmithing, then we can deal with the wordsmithing later.
Okay, I'm going to argue actually against that idea, mainly because I believe this is such an important resolution. We need to deal with it today, and we need to deal with it now, if we're going to. So that would be my own suggestion, but I'd like to go to a vote now on referring to committee because I don't want to continue this discussion. So the question is to refer it to a committee for wordsmithing with the authority to then to change the resolution. As many as that opinion, please signify. Advisories? No.
Aye.
As many as that opinion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, no.
No.
The noes have it. The noes have it. We will not refer it to a committee. We're back to discussing decided versus taking the initiative versus being forced. Andrew?
Something that had been written in your letter to the administration that the college or the administration has not reached out to these universities. Do we have verification on that? Is that something we can include?
The verification that we have is that I asked Dr. Bell to send me all recorded correspondence that he had with the universities on this issue, and he sent me several emails that were sent after the Humboldt student came to us with a concern.
Okay. So for the wordsmithing, what I would like it to read, which I'm open to changes, is ASPCC has now been forced, or what was the other recommendation?
Taken the initiative to.
Has now taken the initiative to carry the burden of representing PCC's calendar change to four-year institutions directly due to the fact that the administration has not reached out.
Well, factually, they have reached out. They just reached out too late.
Then reached out too late.
Due to the fact administration reached out too late.
Or did not reach out at all.
And can I keep the bit about our inability to trust the college administration efforts will be sufficient?
Future efforts will be sufficient, maybe?
Future. Is there any objection to those?
Can you read it all again?
I will read it again. Whereas ASBC has now taken the initiative to carry the burden of representing PCC's calendar change to four-year institutions directly due to the fact that administrative outreach, that administration reached out too late to 4 years, and due to our inability to trust that future college administration efforts will be sufficient.
Or did not reach out at all. That would be important.
I really would like to say did not reach out in time.
Okay.
Because I do think it's not fair to say that they didn't reach out at all, but they did.
Okay.
Any other comments on that? I'll read it again. Whereas ASPC has now taken the initiative to carry the burden of representing PCC's calendar change to four-year institutions directly due to the fact that administration did not reach out in time, and our inability to trust that future college administration efforts will be sufficient. Sarah?
Asked as if the administration was aware this was going to be a problem, or at least they should have been, as that on the October 3rd board meeting, I presented a petition with 10% of the school's signatures on it, where one of the main points, which I read aloud to the entire board of trustees and anyone who was present at that meeting, was that the 6-week session would end on June 21st, 2012, leaving only 9 days for official transcripts to be released, including summer session grades, which is too close to the deadline. So they were well aware of this information, at least by October 3rd.
You know, I would argue that that's part of the second whereas, where it says that recognized the college administration erred in its claim that completion by June 30th was enough to transfer, when in actuality completion by spring is the standard by which students applying to 4 years are judged for entry.
I hear what you're saying. I'm just trying to get at the fact it wasn't a mistake so much as a willful negligence. Yeah, willful negligence. The information was out there and available to them and presented to them on multiple occasions.
John, then Anna. I also want to point out, though, I will just say this isn't a kitchen sink resolution. We do need to make it readable as well. But okay, John, then Anna.
Okay, as far as that goes, actually, as far as Sarah's point goes, whether or not the administration knew, I'm actually leaning to the side that they didn't know, simply because I think what happened is that the argument just got so jaded that they began to think that the argument that it's going to be late was the same argument as it's not going to transfer. Whereas it's not going to transfer says that it has to be at the end of spring. So the end of spring date being there, it would have transferred. However, the administration was like, oh, they're just saying it's not too late again. So it's really a lack of thoroughness, and that's really reflected in the no confidence resolution I wrote. So the lack of thoroughness is just a consistent issue we've had. We'll be able to address that at greater length during no confidence.
Sounds good to me.
Anna?
The last thing I have is in the 5th whereas. It says loss of winter intercession and that ASPCC is unsatisfied with the claim that PCC administration made a. Is the A supposed to be there?
Yes.
Okay. I just can't.
Okay, and I'm cognizant on time, so I'll read the amendments that we've made. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th resolved. Whereas ASPCC has taken the initiative to carry the burden of representing PCC's calendar change to 4-year institutions directly due to the fact that administration did not reach out in time and our inability to trust that future college administration efforts will be sufficient. We've added a whereas ASPC's consistent requests for formal executive committee and administrative comment on this issue have gone repeatedly unanswered. While administration has found time to comment and act on adult film actors speaking at class-related events, the last part of that sentence may change a little bit, but substance has been what we approved. Is there any further? I'd like to take a vote on the amendments as stated, and I'll do that by advisory vote first. As many as that opinion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary, no. The ayes have it, the amendments have passed. We're now on the motion to censure, which is the resolution as a whole. I'll read the resolves for the public. Therefore be it resolved that the Associated Students of Pasadena City College formally censure and rebuke the college administration for the reasoning behind the calendar change. The claims that the calendar change would have no impact, the process by which the calendar change was undertaken, and the inability of the college administration to help those affected by the change in time to prevent transfer rejection on the basis of non-completion in spring. Be it further resolved that ASPC formally condemned the total lack of participatory governance process on this student calendar when it clearly falls within the participatory governance responsibilities of ASPCC. Be it further resolved that ASPCC formally concludes that the efforts of administration to offset the negative impacts of the calendar change have not been sufficient and condemn same for not doing enough. So that is the resolution as a whole. I'll also note we also amended every instance of shared governance to participatory governance. John?
And condemn same for not doing enough. Can we make that work? So I guess it's a motion to replace.
Condemns administration.
Okay. Yeah.
Any objection to that? Hearing at the very last resolved. And condemn administration for not doing enough. Instead
Is that who
of.
we're condemning? We're just condemning
So
administration?
instead of saying the same, it's administration.
Yeah. Yes?
Is that who we are condemning?
The resolution is to censure administration. So I would say yes. So there's no objection to that? Hearing none, we'll then. Anna?
I just have to clarify one more thing.
Okay.
So by censoring administration, who exactly does that censor?
That censures anyone that is manager level and above, I would argue, unless there's a specific definition of what administration is. It would be anyone that is manager level up, and specifically then targeted at those who are involved in this.
Would that include deans?
It might, yes. Andrew?
Could I just hear a comment on why we decided not to include any individual names in this?
My reasoning for this, and we can if we so choose, was because the response to the calendar change needed to be a team effort. Because this isn't about the initiation of the calendar change, but the fact that after the calendar change, so much negative stuff happened that it reflects not just on one person, but on the group as a whole. Because multiple moving cogs are part of that process. That's my argument. Jordan?
I think on this campus it's very easy to find information out, especially through our administration. And if you've ever heard the saying, fish rots from the head down, it's gonna rot. So I feel like with us, we need to target the administration as a whole because they are a whole. That's who we are. If somebody attacks ASPCC, it's all of us. We're on it together, and I feel like that's why we didn't put individual groups in.
I'd like to start moving towards a vote because I know I'm cognizant that Jordan and Hannah actually do get to go to the James Dean event, for which I am supremely jealous. So is there any objection to us going to a vote? Hearing none, we will go to the vote. The question is to adopt the resolution to censure Pasadena City College administration with the amendments as approved. Dr. Thayer.
No, I just wanted to comment before you go to your formalized motion. It sounds like you're getting at that place.
We are at that place. This is the vote.
And just to be, from my understanding, I was not here last week, but Dr. Bell was in attendance.
Yes.
To answer some questions that were posed to him personally. So just, I guess, the clarity of he came to the meeting and outlined some of the things that have been done. And I know you note that in your resolution that there has been things that have taken place in contacting the Chancellor's office, the systems office, Cal State UC. So those communications have taken place. So I just want, just so we all understand, what you're discussing. And from your conversation, it sounds like you're very clear in understanding of what this would mean in regards to the statement that you're making as a group, as students, and the message you'll be sending. So I just want you to just be clear on that. I guess the question too I would have in the resolution, I know your process has been to submit information prior to the packet so that, similar to the board, they had an opportunity to review it so you don't get stuck in the wordsmithing in your meetings. And I know those were presented today. So, I would just say advisement in regards to just make sure you're clearly understanding and you have all the background information, and that you're fully informed. So those are the things that I would just want to make sure everyone understands. And it brings me back to during the summer retreat, and there was part of the retreat. We went over the win, lose, lose scenarios. If you remember that, it was black and red, and just You know, it sounds like we're a lose-lose, unfortunately. You know, so, you know, I just wanted to just comment before you went to your vote. You know, I think the goal has always been to try to make sure the students are in a good place. You know, the goal of college, I think everybody here is looking out for the best interest of the student. So that's been my experience.
Thank you. I'm here actually on behalf of Dr. Bell, and I would like to know if the executive committee or Dr. Bell does have anything that they would like to say before we move to a vote. Please.
So Dr. Bell asked me to attend on his behalf, and he does have a message that he wants to convey to all of the students. He says we're doing everything possible to continue addressing this. We respect the students' perspective that we didn't do enough faster. He said we acknowledge our role in this, and I regret the results thus far for the impact on some students. And this message is from Dr. Bell as the assistant superintendent, not a formal response as you had indicated, Simon, from executive committee, the entire group. And he says he just wants to convey, he gives you 100% support, and he understands your need to go forward in this other direction. And so that's the message that he wanted me to share with all of you.
Thank you. And I think I speak for all of us when none of us have had any particular issues with Dr. Bell. He's been very responsive to us. Unfortunately, he's been responsive to us as Dr. Bell and not as the executive committee. And since we're now at that stage, I think that I speak for all of us when I say that that's why we're here today. So I'd like to go to a vote. Question is to adopt the resolution to censure Pasadena City College administration with the amendments as approved. Advisories, please.
Aye.
Aye. As many as that opinion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, no. And are there any abstentions? And I'm going to go on record with my aye vote, so I need to do a count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that is 8 ayes. We have 2 absent and 2 advisory ayes.
May I ask that the minutes reflect our individual names, individual votes?
In that case, we have to do a roll call vote. Okay, so then, Sophia, would you mind starting with Anna?
Anna Torres. Aye. Miranda Alvarado. Aye. Mara Whittington. Andrew Bach.
Aye.
Fernando Becerra. Jordan Orozco.
Aye.
Peter Torres.
Aye.
John Fraser.
Aye.
Juan Diego Ashton.
Aye.
Simon Fraser.
Aye. The resolution to censure administration passes. We're still on the item if there's any discussion of the no confidence resolution. John?
Yes, so I move that we support option 2, so that's going to be the shorter version of the no confidence alone. Since we've already adopted the censure, it does not make sense to have both. So I move that we adopt the second option presented.
Okay, and I'll read that. Whereas a successfully adopted vote of no confidence means that ASPC has zero confidence in this administration's ability to run Pasadena City College. Whereas ASPCC observes that this administration has repeatedly failed to ensure that students have the opportunity to express their opinions at the campus level and to ensure these opinions are given every reasonable consideration, and the right to participate effectively in district college governance, and the right of academic senates to assume primary responsibility for making recommendations in the area of curriculum and academic standards, despite its numerous attempts at diplomatic resolution on this specific matter. Whereas ASPCC condemns the irresponsible decisions to move forward with the recommendation for its calendar change when the administration had an inadequate understanding of college transfer. Whereas ASPCC condemns the process by which administration pushed the calendar change through the Board of Trustees, bypassing the process which is in place in order to ensure that failures of this magnitude do not find their way further than the drawing board. Whereas ASPCC recognizes the lack of trust in this administration from the campus community deprives it of the ability to constructively engage with any constituent group on campus, rendering it impotent in any collaborative capacity it is required to maintain. Whereas this administration has failed to fulfill its 3 major responsibilities: to provide educational and professional leadership for faculty, staff, and the student body, to account to the Board of Trustees for daily operation of Pasadena City College and for implementation of the Board's policies, and to partner with our community to strengthen and improve programs and services for students. Therefore, be it resolved that ASPCC have no confidence in this administration to carry out its basic duties, maintain a healthy shared governance system, orchestrate major changes responsibly in the absence of shared governance, realize the goals of the Pasadena Area Community College District, avoid unnecessary litigation from disgruntled constituent groups and employees, and provide leadership to the campus community. Be it further resolved, the ASPC calls on the Board of Trustees to remove Dr. Mark Rocha as the Superintendent President, regardless of the contract situation. Be it further resolved that the ASPCC charge the Board of Trustees of Pasadena Area Community College District with taking swift and decisive action in this dire situation, returning the confidence of the governed in their government, and holding accountable those specific members who have caused this lack of confidence. Be it further resolved that the President of the Associated Students of Pasadena City College is charged with enforcement of this resolution and granted the powers necessary to effect its enforcement. Discussion. That's actually the first time I've fully read it, so great. Board comments first, anyone? Anna, and then we'll go to a public? And then Juan Diego.
This seems to be bouncing back a bit. So the first whereases are talking about the administration, how the administration doesn't do its job. And then the last part calls on the Board of Trustees to remove the president, and then it gives you the task of enforcing this. So I'm just wondering if we could have a separate vote of no confidence for the president and the administration if we're going to take these as...
Okay, Juan Diego, then public, then John.
Well, I'll defer to John, or
John.
whoever's next.
Okay, I would like to clarify on this administration. This administration is a specific term that I replaced the administration with. This administration has to do with the leadership. So as far as that goes, it would be up to the people that have been the most involved in negotiations to determine exactly where that is. That's why at the end it defers the powers necessary in order to implement the motion to the president. And I know this body doesn't like referring things to people, but right now we are in a public meeting. We could go through who is responsible individually and try to assign each and every blame. We will be here until past 2. That is just on this item. As far as this resolution goes, it's quite clear to me that we have no confidence in the administration, and we've been moving around this issue for quite some time, trying to maintain diplomatic relations to try to help the students, trying to help students to transfer, trying to make the shared governance process that is broken work. And quite frankly, when I authored this resolution, I took into full account the fact that all of the recommendations that see the Board of Trustees table passed by Dr. Mark Roach's table. His signature is on every single document that the Board of Trustees sees. The reason for him being specifically singled out in this is because he is the only employee of the district. The district cannot do anything about other employees except instruct the superintendent president to deal with them. The superintendent president is responsible for the executive branch of the entire college. All of these things have fallen under have happened under his leadership.
You know, I think I'll clarify Anna's concern, and I do want to, before I go to public, see if Jordan and Hannah have comment on this, because they have to leave. So I will say that I think Anna's specific concern was rather that the reference to Dr. Rocha seemed a little bit out of place given the context of the whereases. I think that was a specific concern, rather than we shouldn't have that whereas, is that the whereases do not address Mark Rocha specifically, if that's correct. Okay, so do Jordan and Hannah have any comment before we move, before they have to leave? Hannah.
I would just like to pose this question to the board. If you're not comfortable taking a stance of no confidence against the administration, when would you? Would it be when half of our students can't transfer? Would it be a more quantifiable number? Here we're having to put all of our goals that we set for the summer aside to help students get into their colleges by contacting these colleges, spending countless hours trying to find these students. We all know how difficult it is to find students who are in this situation. It's like a needle in a haystack. If you're not comfortable taking a stance against administration for their extreme wrongdoing, then when would you be? What would the world look like in which you would take a confidence vote?
Okay, we're going to go to public. Sarah?
I could go through each of the points, each of these whereases, and give you specific, concrete examples of this conduct just from my own experience with the administration of this college. So let that sink in. I'm one student out of thousands, and I feel that I could personally verify each point. That would take a really long time, so I'm going to focus on a few. And the first point, that the administration has repeatedly failed to ensure that students have the opportunity to express their opinions at the campus level and to ensure that these opinions are given every reasonable consideration, and the right to participate effectively in district and college governance. I can speak to that extremely clearly. The decision to cancel winter was made during the summer. What that means for most students is that they were not on campus. They were working, they were at home, they were abroad. There was no opportunity for those students to come and to speak to the Board of Trustees meeting. Although, I don't suppose it much matters that people weren't able to be on campus, as the meeting was held at the satellite campus at the CEC, further removing it from the ability of students to participate. I had a class that let out at 7 o'clock, and I rushed to the Board of Trustees meeting at the CEC. Because I don't have a car, and this was hard for me to do, I got there at 7:20 to find that the doors were locked and there were armed police people at the entrance. I was locked outside with 15 to 30 students and faculty members who were there to register their opinions and to bring these concerns to the Board of Trustees. I was given that the reason we weren't allowed in was a fire code violation. So if it was true that there was a fire code violation and no more people were allowed in, then you would assume that as someone left, another person would be permitted to enter the meeting, since this was purely a fire code issue and had nothing to do at all with preventing students from being able to make a presentation. However, each time that a person left, if we requested to send a person in, still complying with fire code and keeping everyone safe, we were denied. Now, we were able to express ourselves loudly enough so that when 5 or 10 people were taken out of the meeting, that we were able to have more people go into the meeting. And there were actually faculty members and people inside the meeting and community members who, seeing the number of students outside prevented from commenting, graciously gave up their spaces to allow us to enter. This is unacceptable. This is unacceptable that students would be able to comment. When I was at that meeting, which I was finally able to get into at about 8 o'clock, the public comment cards were gone. So I sat there with information in my hand about how difficult it was going to be to transfer and how CSUs and UC systems were not going to accept this. Concrete information from research that I had done. I was sitting next to another student who had also independently done their own research to show that this was going to be a problem. I sat there with my hand in the air for over an hour with concrete information about the negative impact that this was going to have on our campus community. This was a completely foreseeable problem. And unlike this meeting, where a simple hand raised will allow me to make a public comment and to speak to my representatives who are here for me, at that meeting I was completely ignored, along with the other students who had concrete information, again, about what a bad decision this was going to be. This problem isn't a hindsight issue. This isn't a speed of dealing with the thing issue. It is an issue of not listening to, at all, any dissenting voices. And I think that's a problem that's very clearly in this document laid at the feet of the people who were being gatekeepers at this meeting. In addition to that, the point where the lack of trust in the administration from the campus community deprives us of our ability to constructively engage with any constituent group on campus, I can absolutely speak to that. With little to no research into their consequences, I think we can fairly say that they were unaware of any of the consequences that we're facing now, not only unwilling to do research, but also unwilling to listen to students who had completed that research on their own time. I think I'm really happy to see that you guys are taking some consequences here, and that you're thinking of taking action, because this is a dire situation on campus. I have students come up to me still to this day saying, is there anything we can do? Is there anything that they will listen to? You know, we tried a petition, we tried a rally, we tried our student government, we tried attending committee meetings. If there's no way for your grievance to be heard formally, then it's time to say that there is no working with the administration. They've shown there's no working through formal and informal channels. So I really strongly feel that this vote of no confidence needs to pass, and it needs to pass today.
Simon, before quick, I fully support everything on here. I'm really concerned about the removing Dr. Rocha. I was just wondering if either of you could respond to that before you leave and your opinion on that. I haven't heard any reasons why we're including that.
Why we are including it?
Right, because for the last time we weren't including any names, and now we're including the names.
Well, this is in the vote of no confidence page, but for the censure, it is specifically, I believe, I don't know what the legal language is, but I believe it's just for all administration.
Mark Rocha is the superintendent of the college. All of administration reports to him, and so that should be in the direction as to why we want it.
Okay, I'd like to spend then, since there was specific concern from Anna, I'd like the board to spend, after I hear John's comment, because I see your hand going, I'd like to spend just 5 minutes, and I will take a 5-minute recess for you guys to look at specific language changes. I think the way we did it last time was a little bit hodgepodge, so I'd like people to sort of have a think about what languages specifically we want to see in this and provide some suggestions or deletion suggestions in 5 minutes of thinking time. John, do you want to comment still?
Yes, it's on the inclusion of the superintendent president and specifically enumerated. The reason why I felt it necessary to include the superintendent president is because of the public comments immediately following the Courier's release of this story. The only comments made by administration was Dr. Rocha's comments. I will refer you to Dr. Bell. I think we've seen this before. I think we've lost enough vice presidents to know that the vice presidents will go away before the president. I think we need to be very clear as to who's at fault in this decision-making process, and it's quite clear for us. I don't see why it shouldn't be quite clear for the Board of Trustees if I say this.
And before we take a quick recess, I would like to say one thing just about no confidences, because this is a very drastic step. No confidences are essentially a call to remove someone because you do not believe they can execute their job. That is what a no confidence is. And this is a extreme step. It absolutely is. I don't think PCC's had one. I think maybe there was something that was going to be organized at one point, a couple presidents back, but I'm not sure one actually ever went through. This is monumental, and it's not somewhere that I want to be. I do not want to be in a position where I do not trust that my superintendent president cannot or will not fulfill his responsibilities to the students. And I recognize the personal relationship, and I mentioned this in the memorandum, that I have enjoyed, that many of us have enjoyed directly with the specific administrators, that we are able to talk collegially, that we are able to communicate. And I actually used Dr. Bell as a big example of that. I also used Dr. Levo as a fantastic example of that, because I know we've had many, even when we've agreed to disagree, we've had discussions. Where this has fallen down has been on an institutional level, with AS not being given its full place. And I commented at the Academic Senate that the Academic Senate has had its own issues with shared governance and how it's not being respected. I wish we had the same issues the Academic Senate did, because we're barely even listened to and allowed at the table, let alone, policies have to go to them for review. And so we're at a point where I have to beg and plead to get stuff in front of this board for us to take our considered position. The attempts to put this through the calendar committee were rejected because it was a negotiable item. And then suddenly it wasn't a negotiable item and there was no calendar committee to look at it. And I find myself stuck at where this is, and I can quite honestly pinpoint my institutional issue being that the superintendent president has not fulfilled his shared governance responsibilities, and he has not done his best to include the associated students in that. Vice presidents have done their best to include me as the president. Deans have done their best to include me as the president. The president himself and I will have had meetings, but I don't consider that shared governance. I consider that a meeting on what the president is planning to do. That's not AS's offering its opinion. And I do identify that the biggest issues of shared governance have revolved around proposals that Dr. Rocha wanted to implement. And Dr. Rocha has wanted to remove this calendar for a long time. And yet it's never actually come through a shared governance process like it did in 2004 when we switched to this calendar in the first place. That went through a year-long, at least, shared governance process. And Dr. Rocha has not been here that long. He's only been here, I think, 3.5 years now. And we are having this many issues. I am concerned, and I believe, quite honestly, that if we had the opportunity to review the superintendent president, as was part of the board policy, on the odd-numbered years and the even-numbered years, that we would not be in this position today. That is my personal belief, and I said so with the board. I said that I believe that the policy on superintendent president review should stay as it was. A board review on the odd years, a campus review on the even years, and that was rejected. And before that campus review has taken place, the contract has already been extended to 2016. And this bothers me. So as much as I hate to be in this position where AS would be saying that we cannot work with Dr. Rocha anymore, I hate to be in that position, because that's not a position I want to be in, because we have a lot that we need to achieve for students, and that requires administrative cooperation. I have to hope that the personal relationships that we've developed with administrators at lower levels will be enough to secure ASPCC's future interests for this year, such as the student worker policy we have to pass, such as making sure more scholarships go out, such as making sure we are coordinating our transfer efforts, such as making sure that we have recycling programs on campus, such as making sure that we have all of these opportunities available. This could put that in jeopardy. But I absolutely think that there's nowhere else for us to go. because we've tried. That's my own personal comment on this. I'd like to hear more comments, but I do know that we're going to have wordsmithing on this. I don't want to do that in open session. I'd like to take a 5-minute recess right now. So without objection, we will call back to order at 13:45. That's actually 7 minutes. I'm just reading off my phone, so let's do a quorum check first, because I think we may have lost a couple people to the bathroom.
Simon Fraser.
Here.
Anna Torres. Here. Miranda Alvarado.
Here.
Mara Whittington. Andrew Bach. Fernando Becerra. Jordan Orozco. Peter Torres.
Here.
John Fraser.
Here.
Thomas Hatfield.
Here.
Juan Diego Ashton.
Here.
Diego Lopez. Hannah Israel.
Okay, so we do have a quorum barely, and I'm guessing that Andrew will return momentarily. So, discussion. I'll open it up. Tommy?
I would like to add a whereas
Okay,
after the last whereas.
please read.
Whereas recognizing the fact all administrative decisions pass through the PCC superintendent president, including the calendar change which bears his signature, the ASPCC condemns Dr. Mark Carocha, PCC superintendent president.
Please say that again, slower.
I can pass my tablet over if you'd like.
Yeah, that'll do. Okay, so the suggestion is to add a whereas. I do see your hand. Whereas recognizing the fact all administrative decisions.
Whereas ASPCC recognizes.
Okay, whereas ASPCC recognizes the fact that all administrative decisions pass through the PCC superintendent president, Pres, including calendar change, which bears his signature. ASPCC condemns Dr. Mark Rocha, PCC superintendent president. Anna?
Okay, I know that cases have been stated to why the administration and the president separately are false, and I believe they are. But it doesn't make sense to me to say the administration is wrong in all this, so take out the president, when you could have the effects go right back to the administration. So like when Dr. Rocha made his comment about defer to Bell, he could just do the same thing with this resolution, say, I'll defer to the administration because the administration did these things. I'd rather have two separate votes of no confidence, one for the administration for their wrongs and one made for the president for his blame.
Okay, is there any comment on that specifically, Tony?
What I'm trying to do with this whereas is connect the two. Because he is at the head of the administration, if you just condemn him, or if you just condemn him, then you're not really, what I'm trying to get at, I think, is rolling the two together. Like what we tried to do with the last vote and this one, we're trying to roll things together so we have fewer resolutions that we're throwing at them. Fewer, more complete resolutions is what I want to go for.
Andrew?
I don't know if I'm just speaking for myself, but I still haven't heard enough reasons why we need to include this sentence. That be it further resolved, the ASPCC Board of Trustees to remove Dr. Mark Rocha. It makes me uncomfortable personally. I don't like having it in there. To me, it even seems a bit adolescent. I don't like the way that it feels. I'm open to changing my mind if I hear some more reasons why we specifically have to say remove somebody. The fact that we don't have that power, but we're asking for, or we're ordering it. Just in general, I'm not hearing enough reasons why we should have that. But I want to make it really clear that I do support everything else in here. I think it's very well written. I think it very, very clearly makes. You're welcome. Yeah, I honestly, it feels really good to me. The rest of it, except that one sentence.
Okay, so I'll take a couple comments from the board on that issue alone. So put your hand down if you're not talking about that issue alone. Let's go to Peter, then Juan Diego, then we'll go to a public, then we'll go to John.
I see the reason why Anna and Andrew think that it doesn't really fit on this resolution, just because of it shifts. It's more of there's so much shift happening, from whereas administration straight to Rocha. So I would suggest that we add another whereas before that, suggesting whereas the superintendent president has failed ... And then I'm not really bad at sentence construction, so you have to work on that. And the reason why I feel like it is necessary to have him to have that particular statement there is that he has been the proponent of the of the cancellation of winter intersession. He is the one who has pushed for this. Therefore, neglecting all the shared governance committees, neglecting us, neglecting Resolution 0012, where we said that such a drastic change in such a short amount of time, without further research, will have negative repercussions regarding this. So, and in addition to that, such change has cost us, and the failure to mitigate the effects of not being able to help students to transfer, having spring 2 instead of summer 1, having a different registration date, which defeats the purpose of moving into a trimester system, because we are trying to save money and now we're going to have another registration date different from summer. Yeah, that's. And I am scared for, I just want to say this, because I'll just say it, I'm scared for a lot of members of the administration that we are doing this. I am scared for their job security. I am scared that he might go to them, Rocha might go to them and blame them instead. And I'll say to someone else, will say it, can you please go? Sorry.
Okay, I will say that one of the things that I have been clear on is my respect for specific members of the administration, and whatever passes, I will make sure that I make that clear too. Because whatever we pass, I have, unfortunately, the pleasant duty of going to the board and telling them. So, Juan Diego?
I don't know if you came in late and missed our addition, but we did include another whereas, which kind of ties the administration to the president.
Whereas ASPCC recognizes, I'm going to see if I can read my own kid.
And where is it located?
This is the very last, this would become the last whereas. Whereas ASPCC recognizes the fact that all administrative decisions that pass through PCC
This bag was left in the CC 212.
Oh, here. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can you read it again for me? I think I got it wrong.
Of course. Whereas recognizing the fact all administrative decisions pass through the PCC superintendent president, including all the calendar change which bears his signature, the ASPCC condemns Dr. Mark Rocha, PCC superintendent president.
Okay, Andrew?
So I'm very comfortable with that, and I'd be comfortable if it stopped there, or if we even could go further and say, be it further resolved that the ASPCC condemns the fact that Dr. Mark Rocha, the superintendent president, has not fulfilled his participatory governance responsibilities. I'd be comfortable with that. I understand that a vote of no confidence implies that someone cannot do their job, but I feel like going that one extra step, saying remove him, isn't necessary.
Okay, I'm going to go to public. Kelly?
I think it's really, really important to keep that whereas. I would just like to refer, if the Wi-Fi in this room wasn't so crappy, I could refer to specific articles.
I'm sorry, the whereas or the resolve?
Okay.
The resolve is the call for action, the whereas is the background.
No, the Rocha specific whereas, the resolve, because specifically, yes, PCC maybe hasn't had a vote of no confidence before, but Rocha has. West LA College had similar issues with his authoritarian, totalitarian actions, and they actually had a no confidence vote against him. And they ended up with similar issues to what we're having now, with construction projects that go over budget and having empty buildings that can't be completed, things of that nature. So I think it's really important to include him because, as members of the AS board have already said, there's a twofold issue where you have to acknowledge that the administration, that certain members of the administration under him have also been inept at doing their jobs, but at the same time, he shouldn't be able to scapegoat certain members and say, the administration, well, this person's going to get the boot and I'm staying, because he specifically has been a poisonous presence on this campus, and as an authority figure is a bully, and he needs to go, like yesterday.
Okay, I will say there is one thing that I would like to add before we go on, is that I was trying to add a resolve which could actually substitute for this one or complement it. So I'd like to read that resolve, which is, be it further resolved that the ASPCC calls on the Board of Trustees to immediately conduct a full campus review of Dr. Mark Rocha using the review procedure outlined in policy number, which I'm trying to find. So we'll go back to general comment. John, then Tommy.
I actually have to say that I think that the former version of that resolve would be preferable, and I'll just make a quick argument for why I believe this specific instance it should be enumerated, is because in the rest of the resolution we're using a lot of parliamentary language and trying to keep it broad. Like, this administration has been used several times. I already explained the reason behind that. As far as that goes, though, it leaves it vague. If we do this, the agenda item request for the Board of Trustees, in which the decision that we just passed the resolution of censure on, has specifically mentioned Dr. Bell's name in leading the administrators to defend why the trimester is good. This is clearly a very sharp move to cover your trail. A very sharp move. I compliment him on that. Now, as far as this goes, the reason why I think it needs to specifically say who is responsible is because, as mentioned by the member of the public, this superintendent president has not just had one vote of no confidence. When I first became the delegate for PCC, I was sitting in for Alex Soto at a Region 7 meeting. I talked to the delegate from West Los Angeles College, who laughed at me for our superintendent president. He asked, "Are you enjoying your superintendent president?" Yes, they got rid of him, and it was for these exact same reasons. I don't believe that this administration, as in all of the administrators, have changed. So as far as this goes, they may just as well be doing as they're told. When you're talking about an administration, like for example, if the Obama administration, if Hillary Clinton had decided to go to war with Kuwait, the person responsible would be Obama. In this instance, the person responsible is Dr. Mark Rocha.
Okay, Andrew, then Anna, then Tommy. And am I missing anyone over here?
I have a question and then a recommendation. First, how many, in order to pass this kind of a resolution, how many votes would we need?
Simple majority.
Okay. I would be much more comfortable if it read, be it further resolved that the ASPCC calls on the Board of Trustees to hold Dr. Mark Rocha, the Superintendent President, personally responsible for the actions and mistakes of this administration listed above. I would be comfortable with that. That also gives, we're very clear who we find responsible without asking someone to be removed.
Can I ask you to slowly read that?
Sure. Be it further resolved that the ASPCC calls on the Board of Trustees to hold Dr. Mark Rocha, the Superintendent President, personally responsible for the actions and mistakes of this administration.
Can that add and encourages removal, or will that take away from your purpose of your amendment?
I would, yes.
You can add that, or that would take away?
It would take away from the whole purpose
I see.
of
Okay, Miranda, then Juan Diego. Oh, Anna, then Miranda, then Juan Diego.
Okay, I still feel that this entire thing is to go towards the point of having that last statement of removing Mark Rocha. And to say that all the administration did this throughout here is not consistent. I would, if you want to keep the administration in there, since they are the acting bodies of it, you can say the administration at the command of Mark Rocha or something. And mention Mark Rocha in every single whereas that you do for the administration, so that it's clearly seen that he's like what they're following, if you're going to say that at the end. If not, then I'd recommend again that we have two resolutions to get both points set.
So let me try and deal, hang on a second. Let me try and deal with each thing at a time. 1 second. I'm writing that down just so I have a record of it. So I'd like to deal with this specific resolve, and you have a good point and I have a way to address it, but I want to specifically address, be it further resolved that ASPC calls on the Board of Trustees to hold Dr. Mark Rocha, Superintendent President, personally responsible or accountable,
Either.
Personally responsible for the failures listed above.
If we're supposed to say listed above.
I have another approach to this. Pronoun shift.
Okay.
Actually, well, here it is. has zero confidence in Dr. Mark Roach's administration. That will make all future references to this administration, Dr. Mark Roach's administration. Does that clear things up?
Anna? It does. In Dr. Mark Roach's administration. So you know what? I'd actually like to sort of combine the two suggestions. So in the first one, we say in this administration under the leadership of Dr. Mark Rocha, and then for future levels of this administration, replace this with Dr. Mark Roach's administration.
So what you're doing kind of switches it up, because when you say this administration under Mark Rocha, that's one thing, and then when you say Mark Roach's administration, that's another thing. It puts it in a different context. So I'd rather stay consistent throughout.
So you are happy with Dr. Mark Roach's administration, and then later on just keeping this administration? Okay. Then is there any objection to that? So the first resolve would read, whereas the successfully adopted vote of no confidence means that the Associated Students of Pasadena City College has zero confidence in Dr. Mark Roach's administration's ability to run Pasadena City College. Andrew?
I was going to bring this up later, but since I guess we're in that paragraph.
We seem to be jumping.
Yeah, we keep jumping to multiple issues, which is okay. We want to get it right. I mean, I can't say that I have zero confidence in their ability to run the college. I can say that I have zero confidence in them following the shared or the participatory governance process. I can say I have zero confidence in them solving all of the issues that some of their actions cause. But I don't know. I can't say I have zero confidence in their entire ability to run the entire college.
Okay, Miranda?
Okay, I really disagree with that, because the fact that students can't transfer, I mean, that's basically running a college. The point that people come to community college is for students to transfer, and now students aren't transferring, so they are failing to do their job, and I don't agree with that.
Part of their job.
Well, let's just be clear that students will transfer. The question is when. And that's the issue. I don't want us to say that they will not transfer with these one classes, because they will count for something, just not now. So I see a public comment.
Yeah, just to address the issue, I know that it feels contentious to say we recommend the removal of Dr. Mark Rocha. I think Simon said very eloquently before, no one wants to be in this position. No one wants to be in the position of saying, I cannot work with you anymore. My question would be, have you gotten any indication that things would change ever? I don't believe you have. I think I can remind each of you that you have each had experiences with Dr. Rocha, some in open meetings, some in closed meetings, and the conduct that he has in those meetings, and the way that he speaks to you, and I don't think that's going to change. This is a hard and contentious thing to say when you're saying something like this. However, there aren't any options left. This administration hasn't given you any options left. And simply saying that you want the Board of Trustees to hold him accountable could lead to them giving him a stern scolding and further nothing changing. You know, we really don't want to be in a position where you have to deal with this forever. We don't want this to continue.
Okay, so there are a couple public comments. I'm going to go to the back and Emily, and then we're going to go to Aaron, and then we'll go back to the board.
Thank you, and I just want to be, I'm Emily Turner from DeAngelo College. I want to be clear that I'm speaking personally as a student, not on behalf of the v.entrepuertas. A couple things came up in your discussion, which I'm actually really impressed with. I thank you for the way that you hold your meetings and the efficiency, because it's going really well. And so I was thinking of some broader issues that are good to hold with care and consideration around this particular one. So recent campus and state and district policies over the last 3 years, the amount of waitlisted and closed classes for students, programs being cut or eliminated, there's not enough academic counselors, there's not enough financial aid counselors. You have additional restrictions being proposed for the Bob C waiver. You have decreased award amounts for Cal Grant. You have barriers, obviously, to shared governance on academic affairs. You don't have student services available to fit your capacity. You have further restrictions on priority registration. You have restrictions on course repeatability and repetition. You have millions of dollars that have been cut from matriculation. Your fees are rising. Students can't afford books, rent, housing, transportation, or food. And additional cuts to services that are helping students get to completion now work EOPS, DSPS, and other support programs within Flash. So in terms of who to hold accountable in this, I would personally say that your administration does have some accountability in this if they're not holding all of these issues with care and considering these things when they're talking about what you're talking about today. So I can say that I have zero confidence in your administration and your president and superintendent if they're not considering all of these other issues at the same time.
Thank you. And in fact, I will just point out that in a meeting with our legislators, Dr. Mark Roger indicated that he was fine with most of those changes and restrictions from the administrative point of view. Is that a hand? No. Okay. Aaron, and then we'll go back to the
So I'd just like to respond to what Vice President Bott said. If you look at the whereas that say 3 major responsibilities, those came directly off the Pasadena College website, PCC, or Pasadena.edu, sorry. And it's to provide educational professional leadership for faculty, staff, and students, to account to the Board of Trustees for daily operations, and to implement Board of Trustees policies, partner with our community to strengthen and improve programs and services for students. And I would posit that Rocha and the administration have not fulfilled these 3 major responsibilities in their at all. And so minor things that they've accomplished, I would say, are irrelevant.
Thank you. Let's go back to the board. John?
Yeah, okay, I actually wanted to address Andrew's point as well. As far as zero confidence in this administration's ability to run Pasadena City College, it's about running the college is what we are talking about. So when we're saying we have zero confidence, I have a decent amount of confidence that they can talk to the community and have a basketball game. That, however, does not necessarily make a college work. And I do think that they do an excellent job hosting a basketball game. But I do not believe that they have any kind of understanding about the magnitude of suffering they have caused on our students. And I believe that zero confidence is exactly where we need to go. There's no room for improvement here. There's no pass and go. There's no collecting $200. It's just there's either a yes or a no on this. It's been publicly announced that we have decided to take a vote of no confidence in the Courier. We've sent them the memos. They've been invited to our meetings. As far as addressing the superintendent-president directly, who else would we address? If we say this administration, then we leave it up to the interpretation of the resolution or the implementation of the president to deal with that. In that, people who did not necessarily have a direct role in these kinds of situations may be negatively impacted. And unfortunately, the person with the signature on every single document that has been seen by the Board of Trustees is Dr. Rocha. And you can find all of these signatures on public record in the Board of Trustees packets, which are all online.
Okay, Tommy, and then Andrew.
When you're looking at when you're looking at an organization, and that organization has done something wrong, you don't finger point inside the organization. The head of that organization is who is responsible. So condemning the entire administration, yes, that's a nice thing to do. Holding no confidence in the organization is a nice thing to do. But a resolution needs to have some kind of teeth, and we need to make some kind of recommendation. And the person we need to hold responsible is Dr. Rocha, because he is the head of the organization. You can't start, because if you don't hold him responsible in your resolution, then as it's been stated, he's going to scapegoat it on other people, and he's going to push it down, and he's still going to be in office.
Well, here's the thing, though, I will say, is that the amendment that Andrew offered does hold him accountable. It just removes the bit about removal. So I think that what you just said is being achieved by Andrew's amendment, unless he wants to go further.
I would go further and say that I would like to see him removed.
Okay, well, that's what I wanted to get from your comment, is that that's where you were going at. But it sounded like you were actually just supporting Andrew, and I don't think you intended to do. Well, of course, we all support you.
Don't think you intended to.
So, Andrew, then John?
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I think we're starting to go in circles a little bit.
Yeah.
So either y'all are okay with basically holding him personally responsible and not specifically saying we request that you remove him, or you're not comfortable with that. I think we should start addressing that specific thing so we can move on to some of the other issues. I personally, I still, just from what John said just now, there are some things the administration can do as much as some people in this room don't want to admit that, and some of them are academic. So personally, I'm not comfortable with zero confidence. I'm comfortable with lost instead of zero. Associate students Pasadena City College here after ASPCC has lost confidence in this administration's ability to run Pasadena City College. I'm fine with. Zero is just incorrect because as admitted just now, we do have some confidence in some of the things that they can do. But as far as other things go, I think we should address, how we feel about not having removal in there and take a little vote on it so that we can move on to other things.
Okay, I'm going to agree with that. I'm going to go to Diego, a couple of public comments, and I would like to start hearing some amendment motions. Diego?
So I was going through our governing documents, and I just want to read something for us to be aware of when we're moving forward when discussing language. Section 7, Article 14, most of which needs to be bylaw. Part E says, resolution shall not contain language that is libelous, slanderous, or otherwise defamatory towards an individual or organization. If so, the resolution is void. So when we're talking about language, when we're talking about people, when we're talking about those kinds of things, just be very careful on how you guys move forward with what we're putting on our resolutions.
And I will say, I absolutely do not think we should in any way libel or slander anyone. And I think that the definition of otherwise defamatory, and I argued this when I was an Associate Chief Justice, is that libelous or slanderous is the definition of defamation. So it seems a little redundant to have the otherwise defamatory, but thank you, the point from the Supreme Council is well taken. I'm going to go to John, do you spoken yet?
Yes, quick.
Okay, be quick, and then I want to go to the public. And so please put your hands up again.
Very quickly, I'll respond to zero confidence. I believe we have zero confidence in their ability to run the college. We have confidence in them to do silly, frivolous things that are not running a college, but again, zero confidence in the college. Secondly, removal, not punishment. So if we were to change the language to Andrew's amendment, I do believe we would open the door for a kind of salary reduction kind of scenario in which there isn't actual action taken to fix the problem, but the Board of Trustees may believe it does. So it makes it very clear what our policy action is.
I'm going to offer a suggestion before I go to public comment, and I'll get to the other members of the board then. We can adopt the resolution. There's a way we can adopt the resolution by paragraph, and so I would suggest that we do that and then take one final roll call vote on the entirety of the resolution. That's going to be my suggestion. Once we're done with the
I'd like to call the question.
Second.
Okay. The whole resolution.
Moved and seconded to call and, okay.
Amendments included.
Well, which amendments we haven't
with
decided.
The removal of the president in there, because it is necessary for us to state our opinion clearly and directly.
Okay, I'm going to say that is out of order because I have no idea what amendments we have yet. So I would entertain that once I'm clear on what the amendments are. So let me try and run through what the amendments are, and then we'll take on the motion to call the question so I can see if there are any objections to what amendments there are. Whew. So, zero confidence in Dr. Mark Rocha's ability was uncontested. Dr. Mark Rocha instead of this. The other whereas ASPCC recognizes the fact that all administrative decisions pass through the PCC Superintendent President, including the calendar change that bears its signature. ASPCC condemns Dr. Mark Rocha, PCC Superintendent President. I would also like to continue to offer my amendment, which was an addition of a resolution, or of a resolve, which is that be it further resolved that ASPCC calls on the Board of Trustees to immediately conduct a full campus review of Dr. Mark Rocha using the review process outlined in policy number. And I would like to add that one. And then, as of right now, because there's no consensus, I do not have an amendment on be it further resolved that ASPCC calls on the Board of Trustees to remove Dr. Mark Rocha, because that's contended. But what I'd like to do is take those amendments which seem uncontested right now to a vote. We'll take an amendment on the calling on removal from Andrew, probably, and then we'll vote on that, and then we'll vote on the resolution as a whole. Does that seem amenable to everyone? Okay, so the amendment is as stated previously. I hope you're all paying attention. I should read them again. Zero confidence in Dr. Mark Rocha's ability in the first whereas. Adding a whereas. Whereas recognizing, I said ASPC recognizes, it's actually ASPC, whereas recognizing the fact that all administrative decisions pass through the PCC Superintendent President, including the calendar change of the signature, ASPC condemns Dr. Mark Rocha, PCC Superintendent President. Adding a resolve, be it further resolved that the ASPCC calls on the Board of Trustees to immediately conduct a full campus review of Dr. Mark Rocha using the review process outlined in policy number, which I will get as soon as the website comes back up. Those are the amendments. We're going to go to a vote.
I thought the first one was supposed to be zero confidence in
Dr. Mark,
Rocha's
did I not say that?
administration.
Did I not say that?
You said Dr. Mark Rocha, and Dr. Mark Rocha's
My apologies,
administration.
Dr. Mark Rocha's administration.
It is.
Okay, so we'll go to a vote.
We're voting on the called questions, right?
Yes, assuming that is okay, that you recognize that that is the amendment motion we're currently in.
Yes, Mr. President.
Okay,
I'd
so
like
I've
to
assumed that motion, we'll call the question, the voters to call the question, all those advisors on calling the question. Many of that opinion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, no. By hands, all those in opinion, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All those opposed? That is not, is it 2/3 of those present for calling the question? I think it is. So,
That's in the Brown Act. That's the only place.
no, not for calling the question. So I'm going to say that that passes with 2/3 of voting. Okay, sorry, this is testing me a little bit. I haven't actually prepared for my exam yet. So we'll call the question. The question is on the amendments that I outlined. As many of that opinion or advisory. As many of that opinion, please signify by saying aye.
What are we calling now?
The amendments that I read out earlier.
Okay.
Many of that opinion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, no.
No.
Okay, I'm going to take that one more time.
Division by show of hands.
I've read the amendment 3 times. I'm not going to read them again. This is for the uncontested amendments. As many of that opinion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
On the contrary, no. With the ayes have it. So the
Call
amendment.
division by show of hands.
Okay, as many of that opinion, please raise your hand. Those opposed, please raise your hand. That is 5 to 1. The amendments carry. So by a majority. So Dr. Mark Rocha's administration's ability has been amended. We've added the whereas from Tommy, and we've added my additional resolve on the campus review. I'd like to now entertain, before we go to public comment, because I know there are people waiting, I'd like to entertain a motion regarding an amendment to the second or third to last resolve.
Two amendments. The first is in the first paragraph,
Okay.
zero changing to lost. And then
We have to take that one separately.
Okay.
So is that a motion?
Yes.
Second? Is that okay? Hearing no second, that motion dies. Okay, and your next amendment motion?
You want me to read it again?
Yes, just so we're clear, because I think we're getting confused.
Be it further resolved that the ASPCC calls on the Board of Trustees to hold Dr. Mark Rocha, the Superintendent-President, personally responsible for the actions and mistakes of this administration listed above.
Second.
Moved and seconded.
And that would be changing, it would be erasing the, be it further resolved that the ASPCC calls on.
The question then is that we replace the third to last resolved. Yes.
Is there room for a division to adding the question and removing the other resolve?
I would say that that is not in order, because the motion itself is to erase and replace, and so we cannot really divide that since it wasn't an addition. I'd like to take it as a whole. I could be wrong on that, but that's the way I'd like to handle this. So the question is to replace the third to last or second to last resolve, which currently reads: Be it further resolved that ASPCC calls on the Board of Trustees to remove Dr. Mark Rocha as the Superintendent-President, regardless of the contract situation. Replacing it with: Be it further resolved that the ASPCC calls on the Board of Trustees to hold Dr. Mark Rocha, Superintendent-President, personally responsible for the actions and mistakes outlined above. Is everyone clear on the question? Debate on the question? One? Debate on the question?
No.
Any? No? Then we'll go to the vote. Oh, there is comments, so I'll take those comments.
Am I just Melissa?
Melissa, I'm sorry.
Yeah. What does that mean to hold someone responsible? How does that look exactly?
Would anyone like to respond? Because I don't really know how that would look, except for how the Board of Trustees would like to hold them responsible. Juan Diego?
I think it is ambiguous, and I think that's what you're getting at. Melissa, was it?
Yes.
I think that it's clear, well, from my perspective, what needs to happen in order for the administration at any level to function. President Mark Rocha needs to be removed from his position.
Okay. Anyone against that?
I would like to hear
more public.
Whoever wants to comment, John Ray's in here now. I would really appreciate.
Okay.
If everyone, no matter what side they're on.
I would just like to ask first of all if there's anyone who wants to speak against what Juan Diego just said. Then we'll go to general comment. So I'll go to John, then Anna, then public again.
Okay. I actually like the language that you proposed. The only thing that I have a problem with is removing the removal, because I feel like the language you proposed is the work to get to the answer. And I feel like the answer is going to be left up to the Board of Trustees to interpret. So if we were to pass the language that you proposed in replacing the old language, we're asking them to do something, not to do a specific action. So when we're asking them to do something, that could be 2 weeks paid leave, that could be any number of things. That could be a salary reduction if they negotiate that with him. It's going to end up as a slap on the wrist.
Thank you. Anna, then Kelly.
I don't know for sure if it would end up on a slap on the wrist, because this is the second time he's had a vote of no confidence, and the board should see something like that. We didn't have like a unanimous vote for the trimester. We did have some votes on our side. Anyways, I like the language of this because it directly holds Rocha responsible for everything else in this resolution, and it brings it all together.
So you like this language, and you're saying that you like this language as replacement. Okay, Kelly, and then I want to go to.
Yeah, it's motion specific. I just think that what is the point of the entire vote of no confidence after reading the packet on no confidence votes? What is the point if you're not seeking the removal of the executive person who's responsible for the very long list of grievances and reprehensible actions that are listed in the resolution? And I just wanted to point out that, like, yes, it's hard to take this step of spelling it out, and it's a hard step, and no one wants one of Rocha's charming little private emails after you specifically call him out. But what the administration has done under his direction is so reprehensible that it should not be ignored. And I just wanted to point out that, like, if we were to remove ourselves from this situation, like if it was a business or something, if it wasn't a school and you separated from yourselves from this, and you were looking at a company or something because they're trying to privatize our school and bring in a bank anyway, if this is a company and the CEO in a span of 3 years managed to damage what was used to be a highly respectable institution in one of its main aspects of business, and PCC has been known as a really great transfer school, if that CEO under his administration completely damaged one of the main items of business that company did, would you say, yeah, but he throws a great company picnic, we should totally keep him, we should slap him on the wrist? No, you would say that's ridiculous, he needs to go. So if him going isn't the main goal of the resolution, I don't know what is. And I think it's also a thing to point out that maybe the hesitation also comes from thinking that the trustees will immediately remove him, and that's probably not the case. This is more of a large-scale statement of what should be done. So a lot of the trustees will probably, as they tend to do, ignore it anyway. This is more of going out to the public and continuing the fight, rather than once the resolution is passed, he gets fired, which probably won't be the case. So I don't think that there should be that hesitation based on, yeah, but what if he goes tomorrow and then we have no president? I don't think that that's going to happen or should be a concern.
Okay, I'm going to take the 2 more public comments, but I want to start winding. 1 moment, please. Can I take the publics first? Since I have been waiting. Emily?
So I really appreciate the discussion again. And someone mentioned having some teeth in your resolution and what you're asking for, and it seems like right now the only ask you have is to have some accountability with your president and superintendent. And just my personal opinion is you should also demand your lawful place in the shared governance process and make that very clear.
Okay, thank you, Sarah, and then I'll hear the amendment.
Just a quick point on strategy, all right? So I have some background in doing some fundraising and some political work. And when you want something from a body, you ask high, okay? If you want Rocha not to work here anymore, and I've heard that explicit statement from a few of you, and I've heard it implicitly from a few of you, if that's what you want, that's what you must ask for. If you ask for less than what you want, you're nearly guaranteed to not get it. Okay, so just to make it clear, you ask for what you want. If you ask for what you want and they give it to you, great. If you ask for what you want and they don't give it to you, you have room to negotiate.
Okay.
You have room to negotiate.
Thank you. Andrew?
So So I appreciate everyone, making these comments, and I would like to amend the motion where instead of a period at the end of that statement, it would be a comma, and therefore calls on the Board of Trustees to remove Dr. Mark Rocha as the superintendent president, comma, regardless of the contract situation.
Therefore, calls on the Board of Trustees to remove Dr. Mark Rocha as the superintendent
The exact
president.
text,
Okay.
starting at calls.
So essentially, okay, so the amendment will be adding a comma instead of a period.
And
therefore calls on the Board of Trustees to remove Dr. Mark Rocha as the superintendent president regardless of the contract situation.
Yeah.
Discussion on the amendment to the amendment. We'll go to the vote. The question is to amend the amendment as is stated. Advisory, please.
Aye.
As many as that opinion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, no. The amendment passes, so we're back into the other amendment. So now, the second to last resolve would read, be it further resolved, that the ASPCC calls on the Board of Trustees to hold Dr. Mark Rocha as PCC Superintendent President personally responsible for the actions and mistakes listed above, and therefore calls on the Board of Trustees to remove Dr. Mark Rocha as the Superintendent President regardless of the contract situation. Discussion? Hearing none, we'll go to the vote on that amendment. As many that advisory, please.
Aye.
As many that opinion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary, no. The ayes have it. The amendment passes. So now we have a full resolution. Oh my God! I'm going to call a 2-minute recess because I need the bathroom. So we're going to recess for 2 minutes and let's all make use of the facilities. See? Wow, this is becoming standard for us. I apologize, and I'm probably going to be a lot less testy now that I'm not bouncing in my seat. So I apologize for being a little testy earlier. I was quite desperate. So apparently there are more amendments.
Yes.
Tommy.
I would like to add a resolved, and I don't particularly care where it goes in the resolves, but be it further resolved that ASPCC demands the Board of Trustees and PCC's administration to include ASPCC in all shared governance issues. And I am completely open for that to be amended and wordsmithed around.
Can you say that again?
Tommy, I have an amendment on the same subject.
Okay, then.
Okay.
I will defer
to John.
ASPCC demands inclusion in all decisions within its Title V rights.
Demands inclusion.
Inclusion in all decisions within its Title V rights. And I'm going to add before consideration by the Board of Trustees.
Okay, so demands inclusion in all decisions under its Title V rights. Prior to Board of Trustees presentation.
I said before consideration by the BOT. Does that work?
Before consideration by the BOT. I'll expand the acronym. Before consideration. Where would that fit?
That's very different. So ASPCC demands inclusion in all decisions within its Title V rights before their consideration by the BOT.
Where?
I'm sorry?
Where? In the resolution.
Where do you want it?
I like it.
How about
As a background for the whole thing.
Yeah, before we start talking about right now.
Okay, how about then the second resolved? Just make it the second resolved.
Yeah.
Everything moves down. And
I was going to say, since we want to keep consistent with the entire document, say, as prevented before by this administration.
any suggestions on that?
I agree.
Could you repeat that again?
So we want all the, can you read it again, please?
Be it further resolved that ASPCC demands inclusion in all decisions within its Title V rights before their consideration by the Board of Trustees.
As has been prevented by this administration.
As previously, I'm going to amend that a little bit, as previously prevented by this administration.
I prefer neglect.
Or hindered.
I think neglected is the better word.
Neglected.
Okay.
Very nice.
Oh my God.
That's why you're the president.
And I'm going to say that would be, is that a motion, John?
Sure.
Second.
Moved and seconded to add a second resolve, therefore be it further resolved that ASPCC demands inclusion in all decisions within its Title V rights before their consideration by the Board of Trustees as previously neglected by this administration. Discussion on that? Hearing none, we'll go to the vote. The question is as stated, advisory. It's gone. As many as that opinion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Contrary, no. I want to take that again because I wasn't very full-throated. And I'm not sure if there were a lot of abstentions or what was going on. So as many as that opinion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
On the contrary, no. Okay, one abstention. Okay. So then that carries. I'm going to have to read the whole resolution again. Please bear with me. Whereas a successfully adopted vote of no confidence means that the administration of Pasadena, that the Associated Students of Pasadena City College, hereafter ASPCC, has zero confidence in Dr. Mark Rocha's administration's ability to run Pasadena City College, hereafter PCC. Whereas ASPCC observes that this administration has repeatedly failed to ensure that students have the opportunity to express their opinions at the campus level and to ensure these opinions are given every reasonable consideration, and the right to participate effectively in district and college governance, and the right of academic senates to assume primary responsibility for making recommendations in the area of curriculum and academic standards, despite its numerous attempts at diplomatic resolution on this specific matter. Whereas ASPCC condemns the irresponsible decisions to move forward with the recommendations of the calendar change when this administration had an inadequate understanding of college transfer. Whereas ASPCC condemns the process by which this administration pushed the calendar change through the Board of Trustees, bypassing the process which is in place in order to ensure that failures of this magnitude do not find their way further than the drawing board. Whereas ASPCC recognizes that the lack of trust in this administration from the campus community deprives it of the ability to constructively engage with any constituent group on campus, rendering it impotent in any collaborative capacity it is required to maintain. Whereas this administration has failed to fulfill its three major responsibilities: to provide educational and professional leadership for faculty, staff, and student body, to account to the Board of Trustees for the daily operation of Pasadena City College and for implementation of the Board's policies, and to partner with our community to strengthen and improve programs and services for students. Whereas, recognizing the fact that all administrative decisions pass through the PCC Superintendent President, including the calendar change which bears his signature, ASPCC condemns Dr. Mark Rocha, PCC Superintendent President. Therefore, be it resolved that the Associated Students of Pasadena City College have no confidence in this administration to carry out its basic duties, maintain a healthy shared governance system, orchestrate major changes responsibly in the absence of shared governance, realize the goals of the Pasadena Area Community College District, avoid unnecessary litigation from disgruntled constituent groups and employees, and provide leadership to the campus community. Be it further resolved that ASPCC demands inclusion in all decisions within its Title V rights before their consideration by the Board of Trustees, as previously neglected by this administration. Be it further resolved that ASPCC calls on the Board of Trustees to immediately conduct a full campus review of Dr. Mark Rocha, using the review process outlined in insert policy number here. Obviously, I will just insert the policy number there. Be it further resolved that the ASPCC calls on the Board of Trustees to hold Dr. Mark Rocha, PCC Superintendent President, personally responsible for the actions and mistakes listed above, and therefore calls on the Board of Trustees to remove Dr. Mark Rocha as the Superintendent President, regardless of the contract situation. Be it further resolved that the Associated Students of Pasadena City College charge the Board of Trustees of Pasadena Area Community College District with taking swift and decisive action in this dire situation, returning the confidence of the governed in their government, and holding accountable those specific members who have caused such confidence. Be it further resolved that the President of the Associated Students of Pasadena City College is charged with enforcement of this resolution and granted the powers necessary to effect this enforcement. Are we all clear on the resolution?
Yes.
Dr. Thayer.
Sounds like you're getting ready to move to action. Just wanted to process-wise be clear. You've already approved one resolution, so you're looking at a second resolution. That's correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Just want everyone to be fully informed and aware, of what you're doing. You've had good, robust dialogue, so it sounds like a lot of your questions have been answered. So just wanted to, when we get to that point,
Thank you. I will just quickly again, I'll reiterate, I didn't want to be here. I don't want to be here. I do have a couple of thanks to go after we take this vote to a couple of people who are in the room and a couple of actually people in administration, funnily enough, but we'll get to that in a minute. So we'll take this by a roll call vote if there's no objection.
Ana Torres. Aye. Miranda Alvarado. Aye. Mara Whittington. Andrew Bach.
Aye.
Fernando Becerra.
Same.
Jordan Orozco. Peter Torres.
Aye.
John Fraser.
Aye.
Juan Diego Ashton.
Aye.
Simon Fraser.
Aye. Okay, that is 7 ayes, 2 absent, 1 abstention, and 2 advisory absence. The resolution is adopted. Whew, that hurts a little bit. Okay, I do want to thank a couple of people. I reached out, and the reason that the SSCC leadership is here today is because I reached out to President Copenhagen, and he immediately responded full-throatedly. In fact, at his urging, the University of California Student Association has sent an email and a letter directly to their admissions officers and their vice presidents to ask them to consider PCC Summer 1 classes. So we've had representation not just from the SSCC, but from the University of California Student Association as well. So thank you very much for your efforts there. It is worth noting that this discussion at transfer is being watched closely by state student representatives. What's happening here is not in a vacuum, and I hope that the administration, who isn't here, but maybe Dr. Thayer will be good enough to take it back to them, that this is being watched very closely, not just by PCC students, but by students from across the state of California now. And that matters. Okay, so unless there's anything further on this particular topic, Anna?
You have to suspend the orders of the day to go to US Bank items since there are people here to sign.
I think that is the next actual item.
Transfer update.
Oh, it is. Okay, that's fine. Is there President Copenhagen?
Yeah, just